Stoicism, become undefeatable. What is Stoicism? Stoicism is not about suppressing emotions or becoming numb. It's about developing control over your inner world, so that no matter what happens outside of you, you remain anchored. Stoicism is a way of life that trains your mind to respond with reason, not react in chaos. It reminds you that while you cannot control everything, you can always control your response. As the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Let me repeat that. You have power over your mind. You have power over your mind, not outside events, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin with a truth that has stood the test of centuries, a truth that the Stoics lived by and that every strong, grounded individual comes to understand. You have power over your mind, not outside events. These are not just words, they are a revolutionary way of living. This quote from Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, isn't just ancient wisdom. It's a guide for emotional resilience, personal growth, and inner freedom in today's chaotic world. The outside world will always be unpredictable. Let's start here. Life is uncertain. People will disappoint you. Plans will fail. Circumstances will shift without warning. That's the nature of the external world. It's uncontrollable. You can't control the economy. You can't control whether people like you. You can't control death, betrayal, rejection, or delays. And yet, most people waste their lives trying to control the uncontrollable. They try to force outcomes. They obsess over opinions. They chase perfection in a world built on imperfection. And in doing so, they surrender their peace to things they can't change. But you don't have to live that way. You don't need perfect circumstances to live a powerful life. You don't need people to behave a certain way for you to be happy. You don't need life to go according to plan to feel grounded. Why? Because the only thing that truly belongs to you is your mind, your attitude, your perception, your beliefs, and your response. The mind is your kingdom. Imagine this, no matter what happens around you. Storms, chaos, uncertainty. You have an inner place no one can touch. That's your mind, your mental fortress, your thoughts, your interpretations, your focus. That's where your freedom lies. That's where your strength begins. When the Stoics said, "You have power over your mind," they were reminding us of the most valuable kind of control, not over others, not over the future, but over ourselves. And here's the secret. When you control your mind, you control your life. Because life isn't about what happens. It's about how you see what happens. It's about how you interpret and respond to what happens. Two people can go through the same setback. One breaks, the other grows. Same storm, different mindset. Your interpretation shapes your reality. Here's a truth many never realize. Events don't break us. Our thoughts about those events do. You didn't get rejected. Maybe you were redirected. You didn't fail. Maybe you just got feedback. You didn't lose. Maybe you're being led to something better. It all comes down to how you frame your experience. You may not choose the event, but you always choose the meaning. That's your superpower. You are not at the mercy of life. You're the interpreter of it. And the quality of your life rises or falls based on the quality of your mindset. Stop trying to control the uncontrollable. Let me speak directly. You're exhausting yourself trying to change things that aren't yours to carry. Let go. You don't need to control how others see you. Stay rooted in how you see you. You don't need to manipulate outcomes. Trust your effort and surrender the result. You don't need to fight every challenge. Some things are meant to build you, not break you. Once you stop giving your power to things outside of you, you become dangerous. You become calm under pressure. You stop reacting. You start responding. You stop chasing validation. You walk in self-assurance. You stop fearing the future. You train your mind for resilience. Build mental discipline. But let's be honest. This mindset isn't automatic. It takes discipline. It takes training. You have to daily guard your mind. You have to filter your thoughts. You have to pause before reacting. You have to remind yourself, this situation doesn't control me. I control my response. Build routines that strengthen your inner world. Journaling, reflection, prayer, mindfulness, silence. When your mind is anchored, you can walk through the storm without letting the storm walk through you. The result? Freedom, peace, and power when you stop trying to control what's outside you and start mastering what's inside you. Something shifts. You stop panicking. You start preparing. You stop blaming. You start becoming. That's the gift of mental mastery. It gives you the one thing most people never find, peace in the chaos, because you finally realize you are not your circumstances. You are not your setbacks. You are not your triggers. You are the master of your mind, and therefore you are undefeatable. So as you go through your life, through disappointments, transitions, and tough moments, keep this truth at the center of your soul. You may not control what happens, but you always control how you meet it. Choose clarity, choose calm, choose discipline. You have power over your mind, not outside events, and that makes you unstoppable. Pain is inevitable, but your response is a choice, ladies and gentlemen. Let's begin with a truth no one escapes. Pain is inevitable. No matter how successful you are, how spiritual you become, or how carefully you try to live, pain will find you. Emotional pain, physical pain, mental pain, it doesn't discriminate, it doesn't ask permission, it simply shows up. Unannounced, unexpected, and often uninvited, but here's the deeper truth. The truth that sets you apart from those who crumble under life's weight. Your response is a choice. You may not control the pain, but you absolutely control what you do with it. Everyone suffers, but not everyone grows. We often think pain is something to avoid, something to run from. But in trying to avoid pain, many people avoid growth. They avoid the lessons, they avoid the becoming. Pain doesn't destroy you. Your response does. Pain doesn't define you. Your mindset does. Pain doesn't have to break you. It can build you if you allow it. There are people who have lost everything yet rose stronger. There are those who were abandoned, betrayed, rejected, and still became compassionate leaders. There are those who have faced disease, poverty, heartbreak, and came out wiser, deeper, more powerful. What's the difference? Their response. They didn't let pain become their identity. They let it become their teacher. You can't always choose the fight, but you can choose the fighter. Life will hit you. And it won't always be fair, but every time it knocks you down, you have a choice. Will you rise, or will you stay down? You can't always choose the battles life gives you, but you can choose what kind of warrior you become. Do you become bitter, or do you become better? Do you carry wounds, or do you turn them into wisdom? Do you shrink in fear, or do you stand in courage? The power lies in your response. Your pain is a mirror, not a prison. Pain reveals things. It shows you what matters. It shows you where you've been avoiding growth. It forces you to confront what you tried to suppress, but it doesn't have to trap you. Pain isn't a place to build a home. It's a hallway you walk through, not a room you live in. Some people stay stuck in pain because they believe they have no choice. But that's a lie. You always have a choice. You can choose to forgive. You can choose to heal. You can choose to release what happened and step into who you're becoming. Not because it's easy, but because it's powerful. The greatest power, emotional ownership. Taking ownership of your response doesn't mean denying your pain. It doesn't mean pretending to be okay when you're not. It means choosing how to carry it. It means saying, yes, this hurt, but I won't let it control my spirit. Yes, this broke me for a while, but I'm rebuilding stronger. Yes, this shook my world, but I'm learning to stand again. Your emotional response is your superpower. And here's the truth. Every time you choose to respond with wisdom instead of reaction, with strength instead of surrender, with grace instead of rage, you reclaim your power. And when life sees that you won't break, it begins to respect your resilience. From wound to weapon, some of the most powerful people in history turned pain into purpose. They used what hurt them to help others. They turned wounds into wisdom. They took what was meant to bury them and they used it as the foundation to build something unshakable. You can do the same. You can turn heartbreak into clarity. You can turn rejection into redirection. You can turn suffering into service. Your pain is not your end, it's your edge. Final words, choose to rise. So I ask you today, will you let pain harden your heart or deepen it? Will you let it chain you or change you? Will you let it break you or build you, because life is going to test you, it's going to stretch you, it's going to send storms you didn't see coming, but when the pain hits and you feel like giving up, pause. Breathe, remember who you are. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose in the aftermath. So choose power, choose grace, choose wisdom, choose healing, choose to rise, because yes, pain is inevitable. But your response is a choice, and that choice, that's where your strength begins. Control the controllables, release the rest. We live in a world that often feels out of control. Plans fall apart. People act unpredictably. The unexpected happens more often than we'd like. And in our attempt to fix everything, to manage every outcome, to protect ourselves from every possibility, we end up overwhelmed, anxious, and exhausted. But there is a mindset that brings peace even in the chaos. A mindset that brings clarity even in uncertainty. It's the mindset of controlling the controllables and releasing the rest. The illusion of control, let's be honest, many of us are control freaks. Not because we're bad people, but because we fear the unknown. We try to manage everything around us, what people think, how things unfold, how the future looks, but here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of life is outside your control. You can't control what people say. You can't control how others treat you. You can't control the economy, the weather, the delays, or the disappointments, and yet, what causes our suffering isn't always the situation itself, but our desperate need to control what we were never meant to. This is why so many people feel stuck, not because life is that bad, but because they keep trying to fight battles that were never theirs to fight. What you can control now, here's the powerful shift. While you can't control everything, you can control what matters most. You can control your attitude. You can control your response. You can control your effort, your focus, your energy, and your choices. That's the difference between the person who drowns in chaos and the one who rises through it. The one who learns to say, I can't control what they did, but I can control how I heal. I can't control the delay, but I can control how I use this time. I can't control the outcome, but I can control the preparation. That's called emotional maturity. That's called self-leadership. That's called owning your power. The peace that comes with release, letting go of what you can't control, isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's the moment you stop trying to play God and start playing your part. It's the moment you stop obsessing over what if and focus on what now. It's the moment your peace no longer depends on circumstances, but on your center. When you release what isn't yours to carry, you create space for clarity, peace, and progress. You stop wasting energy on the uncontrollable and start channeling that energy into the things that move your life forward. And that, my friends, is how you build a life of power and purpose, not by controlling everything, but by controlling yourself. High performers know this. Think about elite athletes, world-class performers, or wise leaders. They all have one thing in common: they focus only on what they can control. They can't control the referee, they can't control the opponent, they can't control the weather or the noise or the pressure. But they can control how they prepare, how they breathe, how they show up, how they bounce back, and how they focus on their mission. And that's why they win, not because they control everything, but because they master what's theirs to master. You don't need to control the whole board to win the game. You just need to master your next move. Create two lists: what's mine, what's not. Here's a simple, powerful tool: the two-list strategy. When you feel overwhelmed, anxious, or out of control, stop. Grab a piece of paper and divide it into two columns. Column 1, what I can control. Column 2, what I cannot control. Be honest. Put your effort, thoughts, routines, mindset, actions, communication, and self-talk in column 1. Put others' opinions, the past, external events, and outcomes in column 2. Then circle everything in column 1 and commit to it, and draw a line through column 2 that's not yours to carry. Release it. It's simple, it's practical, and it works. A new definition of strength. Strength isn't about doing it all. Strength is about doing what you were meant to do and letting the rest go. It's not about being in control of everything. It's about being in control of yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, your habits, and your direction. When you stop trying to manage the uncontrollable, you start thriving in what is controllable. You start showing up fully. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. And in doing so, you rise above the noise. You become focused, grounded, unshakable. So when life starts spinning, when people disappoint you, when plans fall apart, when the future feels uncertain, remember this: you were never meant to control everything. You were meant to master yourself, control your discipline, control your thoughts, control your energy, control your choices, control your effort, and release the rest. Because freedom begins where your control ends, and power begins where your focus begins. So today, and every day, control the controllables. Release the rest, and walk in peace, purpose, and power. Emotion is a signal, not a command. Let me begin with a simple truth. You are not your emotions. You feel them, yes. You experience them, but they are not the master of your life, unless you allow them to be. You see, we live in a world that is constantly telling us to follow our feelings, to go with the flow, or do what feels right. But here's what that mindset never tells you: feelings are fleeting. Emotions are loud, but truth is quiet. And discipline is what carries you when your feelings can't. Emotions are powerful, but they were never meant to be your driver. They're meant to be your dashboard. Because here's the core message of this speech: emotion is a signal, not a command. The nature of emotions: emotions are data. They are information, not instructions. They let you know something's happening inside of you. They're like alarm bells, weather alerts, or warning lights in a car. Fear tells you, pay attention. Anger says, there's been a boundary crossed. Sadness whispers, something meaningful has been lost. Excitement says, this matters to you. But none of those emotions are commands. They're not saying, act now. They're saying, something needs your awareness. And that's the difference between people who are led by wisdom and people who are ruled by emotion. The emotionally reactive person feels anger and lashes out. The emotionally mature person feels anger and pauses. They process, then they respond with clarity, not chaos. One is a slave to the feeling, the other is the master of it. Emotion is meant to serve you. When you treat emotion like a command, you lose your power. But when you treat emotion like a signal, you gain awareness. And that's where your growth begins. Emotion is there to serve you, not control you. Think of your emotions like waves in the ocean. You can't stop the wave from coming. But you don't have to be swept away by it either. You can learn to surf. You can learn to anchor. You can learn to observe without obeying every emotional impulse. And that's what separates wisdom from chaos. The space between the emotion and the response. That pause is power. Between stimulus and response, there is a moment of choice, and in that space lies your freedom. That moment you feel triggered, pause. That moment you feel overwhelmed, breathe. That moment you want to react, reflect. Ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to tell me? Is this feeling based on truth or on assumption? Do I want to react, or do I want to respond with intention? This kind of pause isn't weakness. It's strength, because the strongest people are not those who shout the loudest or react the fastest. The strongest people are those who are rooted, who choose response over reaction, intention over impulse. Don't let temporary emotions create permanent damage. One of the greatest dangers of living emotionally is this: temporary emotions can cause permanent consequences. People have ruined relationships, careers, and reputations, not because they're bad people, but because they treated their emotions like commands. They felt hurt, so they lashed out. They felt fear, so they ran. They felt insecure, so they lied, hid, or overcompensated. But what if they had paused? What if they had realized this feeling is real, but it doesn't define what I must do? That's emotional intelligence. You don't deny the feeling, you acknowledge it, you thank it for the message, but you decide what action to take. That's leadership of the self. Emotional awareness leads to emotional freedom. You don't find peace by suppressing emotion. You find peace by understanding it. You ask, what triggered this? You look for patterns. You identify emotional habits that no longer serve your growth. Over time, you stop being reactive and start becoming intentional. You start catching yourself mid-emotion and saying, wait, that's fear talking, let me challenge it, or that's ego reacting, let me ground myself in truth. And soon, emotions become tools in your hands, not chains around your neck. Respond, don't react. The world doesn't need more reactive people. The world needs more rooted ones, more people who can feel deeply. Yet still think clearly, more people who acknowledge emotion, but refuse to be ruled by it. Because reacting is easy, it's instant, it's impulsive. Responding is harder. It requires maturity, awareness, and control. But the people who respond instead of react, they're the ones who become trusted leaders. They're the ones who walk in peace. They're the ones who turn pain into purpose. So here's the invitation today. Feel your emotions, all of them. You're human, but don't worship them. Don't obey them blindly. When fear shows up, let it sharpen you, but don't let it stop you. When anger rises, let it alert you, but don't let it define you. When sadness visits, let it heal you, but don't let it consume you. Remember, emotion is a signal, not a command. You are not your feelings. You are the force behind them. So step into that power. Pause, reflect, respond. Lead your emotions, or they will lead you. And when you do, you don't just become emotionally intelligent. You become emotionally undefeatable. You are the fortress, calm, grounded, unbreakable in a world that spins faster every day, where chaos screams louder, pressures build higher, and emotions run hotter. There's a rare kind of person the world desperately needs, someone who is calm under fire, someone who is rooted in truth, someone who is steady when everything around them is shaking. That person is not made by chance. That person is built through self-mastery. That person is a fortress. And today, I want to remind you of something powerful. You are the fortress, calm, grounded, and unbreakable. The world is loud, but you don't have to be. Let's face it, the world is noisy. Social media, news, opinions, drama. Everyone's yelling, reacting, panicking. And if you're not careful, you'll get swept up in the storm and forget who you are. But the fortress doesn't move just because the wind howls. The fortress doesn't respond to every shout. The fortress doesn't break when storms beat against it. The fortress stands, and so can you. When life gets loud, you don't need to match the noise. You need to anchor in stillness. Your strength isn't proven by how much you react. It's revealed by how well you hold your peace. Calm is a superpower. We often glorify speed, volume, hustle, and intensity. But the real flex, the true mark of mastery, is calmness. Calm isn't weakness. Calm is control. Calm is the ability to stand in the fire and not flinch. Calm is having every reason to panic, but choosing to breathe instead. It's saying, I see what's happening, I feel it, but I'm not giving it my power. Calm people make better decisions. Calm leaders inspire more trust. Calm minds think clearer, act smarter, and carry influence that chaos can never produce. So if you want to be powerful, be calm. Grounded in truth, what keeps the fortress strong isn't just its outer walls. It's what it's built upon. It's the foundation, and for you, that foundation is truth. Your truth, who you are, what you value, what you believe in when the world gets dark. When you're grounded in your truth, you don't need to chase approval. You don't need to explain your worth. You don't need to adjust your identity to fit into unstable environments. You can say, this is who I am. This is what I stand for. This is how I move, with intention, not reaction. That's what it means to be grounded. Not easily swayed, not easily shaken, rooted deep, like a tree that doesn't bend in every breeze. When you're grounded, you're not distracted by temporary noise. You're aligned with permanent values. Unbreakable is a decision. Now let me be real with you. Unbreakable doesn't mean untouched. It doesn't mean life won't hit you hard. It doesn't mean you won't cry, fall, or get tired. Unbreakable means you don't stay down. Unbreakable means you know how to rebuild. Unbreakable means you've decided that no matter what happens, your spirit will not shatter. Your heart may break, but your hope won't. Your plans may fall apart, but your purpose stands tall. You might lose a few things, but you don't lose yourself, because you've already decided, I will not be destroyed by what was meant to stop me. That's not just strength, that's resilience. Silence is strength. A fortress doesn't shout. It doesn't argue. It doesn't need to prove anything. It stands, it watches, it endures, and that's you. You don't have to prove your worth by being loud. You prove it by being steady. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stay silent. Sometimes the highest form of strength is stillness. Not every battle needs your energy. Not every insult deserves a reply. Not every emotion needs to be acted upon. Let your presence speak for itself. Let your discipline answer the doubt. Let your actions silence the noise. Build your inner fortress. The world will keep spinning. People will keep talking, situations will keep shifting, but you build from within, you protect your peace, you anchor in your truth, you respond, not react, you rise, not retreat, because you're not a victim of circumstance, you're a master of response. You don't need everything to go your way to feel strong. You are the strength, you are the peace, you are the fortress, so the next time the storm comes, and it will, stand tall. Be the one who is calm when others panic. Be the one who is grounded when others drift. Be the one who is unbreakable when others fold. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be steady, and every time you choose presence over panic, power over pity, and peace over pressure, you remind the world you are the fortress, calm, grounded, unbreakable.